Good morning and welcome to the Lord Selkirk West Kildonan Community Committee for Monday, May 26, 2025. I am Vivian Santos, City Councillor for Point Douglas Ward, will be your chairperson today, together with my council colleague, Councillor Debbie Schummer from Old Kildonan. We also have members from the Winnipeg Public Service, Mr. Peter Prinzu, our senior committee clerk, and Sammy Jerez, our planner from the Planning, Property and Development Department. Want to quickly acknowledge that we are meeting on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional homelands of the Red River Métis that we all have the privilege of living on. Also want to acknowledge our ancestral territory lands, and our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake Band number 40 in Treaty 3, together with our neighbors in Treaty 5, where our hydroelectricity comes from. I need a motion to approve, the minutes of the meeting held on April 25th, 2025 be taken as read and confirmed.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Okay, moved by Councillor Schummer. All those in favor, aye. And that's carried unanimously. Moving on to delegations, I believe we have Inspector Hall.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, thank you for coming. Go ahead.
No problem. Good morning, councillors. So I'll run through the stats for the month of April. So just so you're aware, our dispatch calls for service in the North District this month was 3,337 calls for service. Our community support unit attended to 400 of those calls for service. Total divisional arrests for the month was 390. And divisional warrants, so warrant arrests, individuals wanted on warrants, we had 69 warrant arrests for the month. Just so you're aware, our SPY hotspots, or what we designate as high crime areas, we spent about 52 hours of proactive policing in some of these areas. Our community engagements was around 10 to 12 hours. SPATs, as I've talked about, where officers will get out of cars and walk around and engage the community. We had 120 hours of SPATs, and our beat officers were just over 30 hours of actually walking the beat. I'll advise right now that we have 4 new beat officers that started a couple of weeks ago, and they've been on the street quite a bit. Those numbers are going to go up exponentially. Members of the community have actually been quite impressed with the officers, are seeing them out quite a bit now. So having younger officers on a beat is going to be good for the Selkirk, Main Street, Point Douglas areas of the city, I think. Total traffic stops, we had 456 events for traffic stops, about 90 hours worth. And then traffic events, obviously, again, as we've spoken about, individuals in the community expressing concern about certain traffic areas or intersections or events going on. We had just under 100 hours spent dealing with some of these community issues, and a total of 63 events were attended in the month of April. Total proactive time spent is 418 hours in the community. I'll touch on a couple of topics. About 2 weeks ago, our community support unit executed a search warrant at 552 Magnus area. This is in response to community complaints from the school that's next door and a family center. This address is well known to police and to the community as being an address where drug trafficking and violent offenses occur. So a warrant was executed and some individuals were arrested out of that residence. Several guns again were seized during the month of April, again, generally in the Main Street area of the North District. And you'll notice today there's going to be a media release coming out where a daytime shooting occurred at Mountain and Salter over the weekend. This was on Saturday. That's going to be a media release later today. Our CSU and major crimes units are investigating that right now. I talked about our foot patrol. There's positive feedback. Like I said, we have 4 new members. They're all junior members and very eager. So they're on foot patrol. Businesses in the community and residents in Point Douglas are happy to see the more of a police presence in the area. So that's a general overview for April. Pending any questions from councillors today.
Not at the moment, thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to follow up on your beat officers. Really happy to hear that they're in the community. Is this something that's also tied in with the retail theft initiative, or is this something completely different and separate?
It's completely different and separate. We had some previous officers who were senior. So there's 2 officers that were senior that were, it's probably just time for them to leave. And then the other 2 officers have moved on. So we made a point of bringing in 4 officers who were younger and more eager. And I've made an application to have 4 more officers enter into this community unit as soon as possible. So although I don't expect to see them this summer, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have a total of 8 instead of 4. And then the community will see more community engagement in that regard. But yeah, not related to our retail theft at all.
So the retail theft initiative is still occurring, it's still ongoing?
Still occurring, still ongoing, but those are separate officers being used for that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and seeing no further questions, thank you again, Inspector. Really appreciate you taking the time to come out and provide us with some stats. It's always appreciated here.
No problem. Thank you very much. I'll see you next month.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next delegation. I have Lynn Chu to be heard in support of the following items: plan approval 1145 Court Avenue, report number 2, and plan approval 230 DeGrave Street, report 3. Is this one in person or online? Okay, online. We have them online.
Yes.
Hi, Lynn. Can you hear us?
Yes, I think we'll have the 2 delegations
Two
at the same
delegations come
time.
at the
I
same
think we've
time?
done that before.
Okay, so the second delegation is Yadwinder Singh Sandhu to be heard. Okay, if you want to come to the end of the table.
And I'll put 5 minutes on the clock.
Okay. And I think your microphone, if you want to take your microphone off, unmute yourself, so we make sure we can hear you before we get started. Is it the will of the committee to get 5 minutes each or 5 minutes together?
I think it's 5 minutes each.
Each, okay. All right. Welcome, Lynn and Yawinder. Thank you for coming to speak on 2 items. Go ahead, you'll have 5 minutes each to speak, and then there'll probably be questions afterwards, okay?
Sure. Thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Sandhu, did you want to speak first?
Lynn gonna speak first.
Okay, go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, I'm sorry. My camera is not doing very good today.
That's okay, we can see you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here, and really appreciate you all the help for our projects. Yeah, but
Can you put your camera up a little bit? Because we can't see your eyes. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
okay. Yes, so basically lot 3, which is 1145 Court Avenue. Overall, we have 3 lots together, lot 1, and lot 2, and lot 3. But for today's meeting, lot 3, 1145 Court Avenue, which is townhome development with 90 units in total, and lot 1 with 119 units in total. So both those lots are multifamily zoned, and we are proposing lower density in the area with some affordable housing units involved. Because lot 3 is adjacent to R2 zoning, so we had buildings set on the east side, north side, and south side. On the west side, which is close to the R2 zoning, don't have any building proposed against the R2 zoning. And we had a couple of discussion with planner, and she suggested this way of the development. And on the east side, lot 1, lot 2, we had the buildings positioned on the north and south side. This way over 3 are well positioned in the area. We think this is the best suit in the area. That's all I have. If Yadwinder can add anything, that would be great.
Yes, like as per the buildings, right? Len already mentioned, and we work very closely with the planner Simi and Councillor Sharma. So there is a need for these kind of townhomes and units in the area. We just finished a project Templeton and Pipeline, and so the community liking the design as well, the way we have the design set up, and I guess we work very closely with the planner and Councillor Sharma. If you guys have any question, we are happy to answer those.
That's your
I do have questions. Thank you.
All right, we'll hear from Councillor Sharma on
Thank you.
questions.
Okay, so this site is 3 parcels. Yeah, and there's 2 parcels that have come forward on the agenda today. You'll be coming forward with the 3rd parcel soon. In a few
Yes.
weeks. Yeah, we hope to have a meeting for that. Now, the accessibility, I know we talked offline about this. There will be some accessibility, Lynn, you mentioned.
Yes.
Which site has the accessibility?
Lot 1 and lot 2, both are accessible. Lot 3, it's kind of accessible as well from the street. You can see we have sidewalk connect to the street with a few stairs to the main floor.
Right. So yes, it's not the townhome, but the other 2 will be accessible. You mentioned to me wider doors.
Yes, elevator and handicap accessible, and ramps, small ramp to the main floor.
Right. So there'll be wider doors and likely into the bathroom as well. And
Yes,
sure the person can get into the kitchen area. It won't be fully accessible with lower counters or anything, but you're saying wider doors.
yes, wider doors, wider bathroom as well.
Mhm. Good, and maybe that's something when you bring that file forward, you can show us some accessible drawings as per the comments that you just made. You can talk with Simi about that further if you like. So maybe
Okay,
making sure we have that.
okay.
Good. Tell us about the materials that you'll be using on the townhome project.
Yeah, so for the material, we will use maintenance-free material at outside with a colorfully designed. Inside, we will use some luxury product like a luxury vinyl plank, solid kitchen cabinets, and quartz countertop, and then energy efficient LED lights throughout, and energy efficient heating, cooling system for the buildings.
Great. What is the timeline for construction for the 3 parcels?
We wanna start the construction right now and get everything completed by the end of 2026.
So starting soon, when you.
Yes,
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 It's here. And then the construction finishes occupancy, you're hoping 2027?
no.
no, 2026. In the summer of 2026, we should have some units finished and ready for occupy.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're not asking for any parking variances?
No, because we did go lower density and we try to accommodate 1.5 ratio for the parking.
Now, we asked for some more articulation on the townhome project. You were saying there was an issue with space though?
Yes. So we discussed that with the like planner Simi as well. So as we are already going lower density, so yes, there is an issue with space, but we are doing that articulation with using different material and giving a facade a different look with the peaks on the roof. So
So you've done that instead?
yes,
Now, next time when you come for future projects, it's a good idea to have your architect present or the landscape architect, because they can speak in detail. There's a lot of groups that bring a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if you've watched that before. Where there's a
Okay.
presentation that you run us through a slide deck of the project.
okay,
So if you could look to do that in the future.
sure.
It's just, there's a lot of detail here. It's also really good for the public when they're watching the meetings to be able to follow along, because they're not architects, they're not landscape designers, they're not developers.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and Simi can fill in the blanks about that and we can speak about that as well. But it's a good idea to have something like that on the public record for the committee and the public as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The architect that works on this project, is it an in-house or do you contract someone for the architect?
Contract.
Contract,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, he has his own architecture firm.
Okay. Good. So maybe he's familiar with coming to these kinds of meetings, you know? And if not, other people are, consultants,
Okay.
et cetera. Okay, anything you'd like to highlight?
One of the key things was, there's, for the townhouse project, that's the 1145 court. There is amenity space abutting the park on the north side. That has a barbecue area and shelter and tables and chairs. And that's nice asset. There's also a gateway that will open onto the park. And another thing to note, well, actually, I'll keep it to, should we keep comments related to 1145 for today?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, okay. So the amenity space is at which address? 11.
It's at 1145
That's
Court.
right.
Yeah. So that's the townhouse project and
And it's just looking at that now, and the amenity space is,
so the way the drawing is oriented, it's on the left side of the drawing. So with the pathway that goes in front of the building extends all the way to the park, and there's a gate opening there. When you zoom in, you can see it. So there are barbecues and it's on both sides of the path. There's a big table and chairs. So some seating and some benches as well. And some shade trees are included.
right,
These are condos or rentals? When you say townhomes?
It's a stacked townhomes.
It's rental.
Yeah, it's rentals.
apartment stuff.
Okay, so then you'll have a property manager that will maintain and operate the barbecue area?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we have a resident manager which lives on site. That's another tenant support we give to our tenants, yes.
Now, it's likely the intention of the committee, Lynn, to move forward the 1145 court today. but hold the other one back because we're expecting 160 to Graves to come later. That file.
Okay,
So if we can approve those two together, but
okay,
let you, move forward with the townhouse application.
Okay.
That's the idea today, if that's okay.
that's okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions for the delegation? Otherwise. we
Just to
can-
reiterate the accessibility in the files that are coming forward later, if the applicant could detail that to make sure we know exactly what kind of accessibility is going to be available. It's important to have that there. It's easier for strollers and wheelchairs and walkers, and we often don't know when we're going to be in that situation. So it's good to have accessible options in all neighborhoods. Yeah, so I'd like to see that next time. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your collaboration with our planner and reaching out to my office. We do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, moving on to our next delegate, Evan Hansen, Principal Architect, Affinity Architecture, to be heard with respect to plan approval, Numeracy Lane, also known as 391 Pipeline Road. Hi, Evan, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Do you have a presentation to hand out?
I'm gonna walk through the drawings that were submitted for
Okay,
the application. That's
okay, sounds good. That's the one we have online, Mr. Clerk, which is, I see it here, submitted plans. Okay.
Okay, well, thanks for the opportunity to talk to you today about this project, and thanks to the public service for the time that they spent reviewing and consulting with us on this job. I'll just go over some of the basic attributes here. This is the site plan that you're looking at. It's a stacked townhouse project with 16 buildings and 226 dwelling units. We have 348 surface parking stalls, which is a slightly higher ratio than would be required under the zoning bylaw. So it's 1 to 1.54. Of those parking stalls, we have 38 visitor spaces, 5 accessible van spaces, 115 small car stalls, and 35 outdoor bike parking spaces. The variety of parking is spread out on site so that the visitor parking, the short car parking stalls are not all concentrated, but they're located in front of a variety of buildings so that tenants that are living in each building have access to the mix of parking stalls. There are accessible pedestrian connections that run throughout the site and not only leading from building to building and each front door, but also out to Pipeline Road here and Numeracy Lane to the east. And we've also been able to incorporate a couple of little green amenity areas in this project here. We have some seating and some green space, and there's another seating area here beside building 12. So there's two types of buildings on this site. We have the stacked side by side and the stacked back to back and side by side. So this is a picture or a plan of the typical side by side that isn't back to back townhouse. And so here we're offering units that are between 800 and 1600 square feet. And the units are 2-bedroom as well as 4-bedroom on the upper level. And the units also have access to balconies. So this is the other type of building that's on site, which is the stacked side by side and back to back. And here we have a variety of 1-bedroom plus den, 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom townhouses that are in the 1,000 square foot range. Again, balconies are available to the tenants. This is the elevation drawing set of the side-by-side townhouses. The portion of the townhouse that faces the street has cladding that includes cultured stone and fiber cement siding, so low maintenance materials that will look good for the duration of the building. Then around the sides and the back, we have colored cement stucco. This is a typical elevation of the other type of building, the back-to-back building. And again, we're using a mix of fiber cement siding and cultured stone on the front, and around the sides, we have cement stucco again, colored cement stucco. Because we have 16 buildings on site, we wanted a variety of colors to be implemented so that the site doesn't look repetitive. Overall, the materiality will stay the same to achieve some cohesion of the aesthetic on site, but we're going to change the colors of the materials just to give a little bit of variety. So we've come up with 4 color schemes, and they're shown here. I won't go into too much detail about the actual plans of the dwelling units, but I'll finish off just taking a look at a clearer version of the site plan that is less information dense than the architectural site plan that I showed you. This is a landscape plan, and it shows the street front planting, the building foundation landscaping, the parking lot interior landscaping, and as well as the surface materials, the ground cover materials where we have mulch and grass. And you can see a little bit clearer that the seating areas have some trees, and so it'd be a pleasant place to spend a little bit of time on site. And that's all I had for you today. Open it up to questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead, Councillor.
What is the construction timeline, Evan?
We want to be starting in August, and it'll be about 24 months to complete the entire site.
And do you, as you get some of these buildings built, do you occupy them or do you wait till everything's all done?
I would imagine that they'll be occupied as we go, as they get completed building by building.
Speaking today, correct?
Not kind of required.
Okay, no problem, thank you. The accessibility, there is no accessible units, correct?
There's no fully accessible units, no. We do have, unlike some stacked townhouse units, we have less stairs to get to the main floor dwelling units. There's just one step instead of 5 or 6, so there's an advantage there, not necessarily for wheelchair accessibility, but for just, the general public who may have some mobility
So
challenges.
just one step?
Yeah.
Which ones have one step?
The main floor units have. So for instance, this unit here.
So we're on the building map, is that?
Sure. So each of the main floor units, the majority of them have only one step to get up. So in all 16 buildings, there's some grading challenges. So this unit here and that building here, this unit here might have a few extra stairs as we sort through the grading, but other than that.
And I see a lot of these projects coming forward in the future. There is a townhome project similar to this across the street at Amber Grove. So there's a real opportunity in the future to look at accessibility. Was there, from an architect's point of view, one of the units, even 2 of them, could we not have had the one stair and had a bit of a ramp on the side?
Yeah, potentially for future developments, we could look at doing that. The ramps do take up quite a bit of space, but it would be worth it.
It takes up space because it's needed. Someone needs it, right?
Yes.
I hear from my residents in Old Kildonan, they're living in, Naples, Garden City, larger homes in Garden City, and they want to downsize, but there's accessibility issues. And there aren't a lot of opportunities in the area to have, a space like this. It's a little bit larger. And that's what I'm hearing from folks there. We have the Prestige apartment right now, not too far from here. I think they have some accessible components, but sometimes folks want a bungalow style. Some of these are bungalows, correct? Like, because they're stacked.
One level.
One level.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think that's a missed opportunity, to be honest. And I'm disappointed that we have over and over, we are having this conversation here at this committee about accessibility. And we're not seeing anything about that. We're not seeing it highlighted in what is accessible. We wait until someone brings it up on this committee. So I'd like to put this on the record one more time about accessibility. So how would that be done? Walk us through a unit, if it could be done. Was there large slope issues here, or
Sorry.
were there slope issues as well, drainage issues?
We're still working through the grading design as part of the next steps of the project.
Right, so we
Yeah.
don't know if it's an issue. Because we haven't done that yet. Right? And it'd be nice if people looked at the whole gamut of what's in front of them before deciding that we're not doing that.
Could we, if it's going to be an issue for plan approval, is it something that we could look at as part of the permit application step and maybe deal with it at the director level as a director plan approval item, if we can sort of
Well, I
agree
think
that
it's a
the
good idea
overall.
to keep it open, like keep an open mind around these things, right? And I'm really saying it for the future, but again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I'm disappointed. Because it's not this developer, by the way, at all. It's folks that, firms, actually, architect firms that I keep saying this to over and over. And I think we've heard when we go to school for architecture, that we're here to serve all people with design. I'm sure that's something that's said there, right? But I'm not seeing that sometimes in options. So I would like to see that. Yeah. So sure, the planner is listening, and so maybe there's an opportunity, we can still weave it in. And we're not saying 50% accessible or 25%, we're saying try it out, make it available, and you'll see yourself the feedback that we get from residents. There's probably gonna be an uptake. I've heard from folks. They keep asking me about what options are there for them. And it's not a slight on you, Evan, directly. This is in general. You happen to be sitting here having the conversation. And also, I know it's difficult that not this developer, but developers have something in mind, and you are hired to do a plan, and you're taking direction from the group that's hired you. Again, not in this case, but that's how it works. But I think when you can point to conversations like this, pull up the video and say, this is what the elected officials who represent 60,000 people are looking for. Right? Because folks don't always have a voice about various topics of the city. They're not logging in and coming in delegation. Sometimes they're not even sure how to do it. And especially if you're not well, you're not going to be worried about coming to a community committee for the area you live in. You're going to trust your elected official and trust the developers, people that are making these things happen. So we have responsibility. So if there's something, there's more of these coming up. Your firm's been involved in others. And so let's see what we can do to offer a product to everyone. And maybe there's a little bit more expense, likely there is for a round, but it's good business. Thank you. Going back to the parking, tell us where the visitor parking is going to be. Is it going to be throughout the site or in a certain spot?
Yeah, we've distributed it throughout the site. So in this plan, we've highlighted the visitor parking in pink. So we have accessible parking in that are designated as visitor stalls. We have regular parking stalls such as this one and short car stalls. And so kind of have this opportunity for people to park throughout the site as visitors when they come to visit each building.
Now, do you have, where's the nearest parking area? I know where it is, but I'm asking you.
I believe it's to the north. There's a school up near University Lane.
With very limited play equipment, but it's there. And then there'll be another park coming in the area. I don't know if you're familiar with where.
No, I think I recall that there was one accessed off of Court down. There's an AT path coming off of Court and going north. I recall, but it's been a while since I've.
It's good to know that, to know exactly where the green spaces are in the area, to see where the folks are going to be going. Because when you're living in such a dense area, you need a reprieve to go outside and enjoy. There is a project on the corner of Pipeline and Templeton that just went up recently, and they actually have a play structure right on their site. The developer was very good about doing that. And in fact, he's sitting in the room right now. They were very good about doing that. And that's not something that was envisioned maybe right at the beginning, but through conversations and collaboration. And I'm not saying a play structure would go here, but you do have, tell us about the green space and the benches. The sitting area.
Yeah, we have some, it's
Can
probably
you
best.
point to that?
Yeah, I'll go to the landscape plan. Maybe that's the.
So there's two entrances, right? Pipeline Road and Numeracy.
That's correct.
And that's good that you did that. I know it's something the public service asked for.
Yes. Yeah, so we have green space here with 4 benches and it's surrounded by trees and shrubs.
And the 4 benches, yeah,
Seating area and then
just
there's
sort of facing each other, right?
another bench here. Yeah, it's a little bit of a
What
conversation.
is,
area.
just on top of that, are those bike racks or what
Yeah.
is that?
These are bike racks and there's a
Okay.
little bit of open green space.
Okay. Green space, so they can do something there, kick the ball around or something.
Sure.
Why was it contemplated to only have one entrance? Did you feel that was adequate or?
One entrance off of Pipeline originally. We reviewed it with the public service and the fire department and they accepted it as being something that would be adequate for the site. So we thought, okay, then we'll proceed on that basis.
Mhm.
And then later on, it came to be known that as part of the master plan of the site, the connection to Numeracy Lane was always contemplated as being access to the site. So at the request of the public service, we incorporated that.
Right, very good. Now, the underneath building 15 and 16, there's parking and you've got it angled a certain way. What is that greenery on the end? I mean, it probably serves a purpose so people can get in and out easier.
Yes, we did receive some feedback from the public service, some concern about the ability of people in these stalls to back out. And originally, we didn't have this strip of landscape here. And so we added this little stub to the end of the drive aisle to provide a little bit more maneuvering space to get in and out of that and sort of facilitate movement to people in and out of those stalls.
Now, I'm very happy with the developer is investing in this area. We need housing. We're growing by immigration and regular population growth. And Northwest Winnipeg is sought after. People want to live here. So we need housing. And it's about sort of being very thoughtful and doing it as correct as we can. Because when we're densifying and everybody's too tight, they have no green space to enjoy. Proper parking isn't there. It's not going to work for anyone. Right, where is the spillover on street parking? Have you thought about that? If it's needed?
Well, hopefully there won't be any spillover on street parking. We have a few more stalls than the zoning bylaw. But I suppose if there was spillover, it would likely be on Numeracy Lane.
Okay. And what kind of mix do you have for the bedrooms in each of these units? There's 226 units.
Yes, so we have 1+ dens units. We have 2-bedroom units, we have 3-bedroom units, and we have 4-bedroom units.
I just been willing to suspend the rules if the applicant would like to join. Mr. Garg, would you like to join?
Sure, yeah.
Can I suspend the rules to hear from Sahil Garg at the same time?
Sure.
Okay.
Does he need to fill out paperwork? Does he have obligation?
No.
No, good. Okay. We just need you to sit down and then just state your name
Call the question.
for the record. Yeah. Okay, all those in favor to suspend the rules? Aye. It's carried unanimously. Go ahead.
Mr. Garg, thank you for being here. Yeah, did you want to add anything? I thought you're here. It'd be good to
First,
call you
no.
forward.
Well, my name is Sahil Garg from Holly Homes, as we're the developers and owners of the project. We are gonna be self-managing it and have a property management team. We do have several buildings across the city where we are managing them. So we ensure that, there's safety there on the site. We ensure that the site's always clean. We do have somebody that goes and takes from the actual ownership group, that takes a round on every single site every day to ensure that there is, cleanness there. One of the biggest things to comment on this one is there's 348 parking stalls.
Yeah.
And there's 226 units. We do have extra parking stalls, and one of our biggest things is, one of the items we want to push in the agenda is people using rapid transit. We want to ensure that they are working with the city too. There's bus services, they're hopping on the bus, we have some extra spots. We want to charge a little bit more premium for that to deter cars, opening up more parking for visitor parking. One of the things that I know Evan does not know about the area that much, we are building quite a bit in the area. So one of the reasons that, off-site park is great, and this is something I mentioned to the planner as well. it's always good to know that, the kids can go to a different park, hang out with different community kids there, right? You have a park there, they're all gonna be just co-joined. I don't know how many kids are gonna be here on this particular site for a park, but if there's a park in the area, all the kids go there, they're talking to each other, they're hanging out with other kids from other developments too. It definitely creates a bit of a friendship group, and that's how we grew up. Is we would go to the park and be somebody from a different area, from a different neighborhood, hanging out there. It was always good. We got to meet a lot of different people, going to different schools. Right, chances are somebody living in this development, they all might be going to the same school. So that was one of the big key factors there.
There is a park, as Evan said, to the north with the school.
Yep.
There's a park that will be developed
North
east of this.
yeah.
East of this, it'll be a new park.
Yep.
And then there's a very new park that's just finishing being put in Amber Gates, so just across Templeton.
Yep.
And you're right, kids like to go to different play spaces, try out different equipment. So those parks are being developed, especially the one to the east of us, because we insisted, the counselors, on this prior to the folks that own the land now, prior to them coming online, all of you. This was just a vacant land and there was a precinct plan. And we decided to put in there the need for green space. And even then the city wasn't even sure, the public service, if we needed that. We pushed for it as elected officials. And now as we see it all coming together, it's so important that we did that because it's needed. We see the density and the ethnic community that is deciding to live in this area. They spend a lot of time outside. And so it's being utilized. And I ask you as the owner of this development to come by when you're all is said and done. Come and join me on a tour and we'll, even before you get in the ground, you'll see how many folks are outside in the community.
Yeah.
And the shade structures are so popular. You've heard about them, I'm sure. The
what's that?
canopies, the shade structures, folks like to sit underneath them.
Oh, yeah.
Play cards and
Traditional,
enjoy
yeah.
the good weather. Okay, good. And Mr. Garg, you've heard the comments about accessibility.
I did, and one of the biggest comments on that is the cost of creating the affordable unit, and then the space that you need in the affordable unit. You have to make sure that the doors are much bigger, the bathrooms are bigger. We do have some accessible units in our buildings in St. Anne's. On St. Anne's, actually, as Simi was a planner previously there, she's well aware. We had several units and we did have a lot of challenges with the accessibility there.
Where did you make them there?
We made them in the apartment building. We made them actually in the build itself.
And what made you do that?
It was one of the first buildings. We wanted to be sure, we had some accessible units. We tried everything on that one, but it did not turn out the way we wanted it to. One of the biggest factors was you had to make the entire unit quite a bit larger, 20% larger, just to accommodate a bigger kitchen, accommodate a bigger bathroom, accommodate a bigger entrance to the bedrooms, to the mechanical rooms. So you had to make sure the entire unit itself was very accessible.
Now, this is an apartment you tried it in St. Mary's.
San Italia.
That's not the old Kildonan ward.
Yeah.
This is, yeah, so I appreciate that. This is a bit of a different animal though. This is a townhome, that's an apartment. And I think fully accessible. I'm honestly, there's different levels of accessibility. But we could make incremental change. I'm thinking of a family member that needs accessibility, but they're surrounded by other members that live with them. That's what I'm thinking about. And then there's fully accessible. We do have fully accessible. We have 1010 St. Clair in my ward. We have Tranquility Place. We actually have buildings that are dedicated to that. So I'm even looking for the option of when a family member is challenged with mobility and they live with others. So that accessibility level is a bit different. It's the wider door, being able to get in the kitchen. And so it's not that fully accessible. And even someone that's coming to visit her, because then it becomes, well, that person can't come over. You know what I mean? So there's different levels. Open your mind, which I know you are, and speak to our planner, speak to me anytime. And I think together we can tackle this.
We can definitely have a different conversation and then try again. But one of the biggest concerns that we did have on this, project is our community, with a lot of them being homeowner occupied. the mentality is to be home occupied, not a rental. So we find that this community is very much so that, rent for 1 year, rent for 2 years, rent for 3 years, and then they're getting out, right? A lot of them are a younger generation that we're finding that are renting these houses. As we're on the building side as well, we're seeing that there is a huge demand for rental. We're getting calls on our brand new houses. Hey, we want to rent a house, but we want a 5-bedroom house because I got siblings, I got this, I got that. A lot of the feedback, and that was pushed into this project to create a 4-bedroom unit. To push a lot of the people into their rate. We're finding there's not a lot of 4-bedroom units available. And if they are there, you got one in the basement, you got 1 bathroom, you got 1.5 bathrooms. Here, I believe in the 4-bedroom unit, we have 3 bathrooms, 2.5 bathrooms.
Could you move up a little bit? I just see that you're not on the screen.
Nope.
There you go.
Sorry, there you go.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And,
Yeah.
and for this, you're gonna see if there's anything, but a future, this is a future conversation as well.
100%, yeah.
And,
I
it
think-
takes time. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, one of the biggest things we would do in the future is to work on the plan a little bit more. And to diversify, and try to get more, try to expand the unit a little bit bigger. So that way we can have the people going into, the actual end units maybe, or we're finding out, one of the building designs taking the entire building and then expanding the entire main floor footprint. And then laying out a different design on top of it, just to have more accessible units on the main floor.
Good idea. And I find that some of the folks that want to age in place, they want to rent. They're getting out of their larger home and they want to rent, and they're good tenants because they intend on being there for a while. So they're not the ones that recycle themselves out after a year. So there's opportunities for yourselves. We want to give folks in the area a chance to live age in
Absolutely.
place as well. So you hear me,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Good. Any other comments you want to make? I'm just looking through my notes here. Any other comments you want to add?
No, good.
Good questions, Counselor.
Thank you. And the construction timeline again, this summer and 24-month
24-month construction.
construction, yeah. Very good.
And then just to add to that, yeah, we will be finishing the buildings as where the new ones are coming online in the construction phase to ensure that people are moving in, occupying, sites getting cleaned up, people are getting looked after.
Well, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you bringing your architect. It's very helpful, right? That's where we can have the fulsome discussion then. Okay, thank you very much, Evan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just looking at the time, we do, oh wait, is there any more delegations? That's it? Okay, I'm just looking at the time. We do need to go into public hearing. I think there's a couple of motions that are coming reports, so I think I'm gonna pause and then move into the
Could we
public hearing.
just keep going maybe because some folks can at least move on?
Okay, well,
think
you
we
don't
have to
have any
start
amending
with-
motions, do you, or anything?
No, but we can do at least one of them because we have to start by 10.
10:55.
Do the regular
Okay,
agenda for.
you wanna do the regular agenda and move forward? Okay, we'll move into reports then. First up is the plan approval, Numeracy Lane, 391 Pipeline Road. We do have the administration here, so do you have questions of the administration? Need some
Hear the
clarity on
summary?
stuff? Yeah.
Very briefly, this is a plan approval application for 16 3-story stacked townhouse style residential buildings with a total of 226 units as well as a leasing office. This site is on the west side of Pipeline Road between Court Avenue and Templeton Avenue. And the Numeracy access is between Court Avenue and Ramona Gallos Way in the Leland North neighborhood of the Okildona ward. It has just narrow frontage for the approach on Numeracy Lane. Each of the proposed buildings has a peak roof approximately 35 feet in height. Buildings 1 to 11 are oriented along the perimeter of the site, enclosing the surface parking area and screening it from the street. Buildings 12 to 16 are internal to the site. There's 4 different building design schemes shown with 2 distinct facade types and 4 different color palettes. So it contributes to quite a variety in the elevations while keeping a lot of cohesion. Sorry, I'm just trying to think how to summarize it quickly. Plans show 348 outdoor parking spaces or a ratio of 1 to 1.54, which slightly exceeds the zoning bylaw requirement. And that includes 38 visitor spaces and 35 outdoor bicycle parking spaces. There's very good accessible pedestrian connections to the site, as well as a connection to the future sidewalk along the east side of Pipeline Road. There are in-ground waste disposal receptacles in 3 locations on site, and the accessible pathways access each one of those. Snow removal areas are not provided on site. The applicant has stated they'll contract private snow removal company for that.
Thank you. The collaboration was good with the applicant. I know you answered a lot of their questions. There was back and forth, as there usually is. There were some changes made as a result of the conversations with the
That's
department.
correct. So a number of improvements to the site plan, including the addition of the seating area, additional landscaping. The most significant change being the relocation of the approach a little bit further north away from the intersection for public works request, and ensuring that Numeracy Lane is shown as a point of access for the site.
Great.
You had touched on the park that's east of the site, so Numeracy Lane is a great connection to be able to access that park.
Absolutely. Now, tell me, Simi, in terms of the comments about accessibility, it's now, but mostly for the future. If we approve today, how is there an opportunity if the developer decides to tweak a few of the units? How can we do that with director approval? Can it be done?
If it doesn't impact the site plan and the elevations, I don't think there's a mechanism for that, unfortunately. I think that,
No, my understanding is if there's an alteration to the plans before us today, then that has to be approved by this committee.
What if we did a notation that plans are approved, but if there was ramping to any individual unit for accessibility, that could be go to the director. Like if we don't have
I don't believe that's possible.
because either the whole plan approval will go there
Yes,
or
well, the way that these plans work is that they would have to be approved by this committee. So if the committee would like to see ramps on a certain amount of units in this development, then that is something that would have to be included in the plans.
You could probably just accomplish it creating.
oh wait, no question. Okay. So if it was accomplished through grading, does that mean it's necessarily concrete or is it more mulch or?
it wouldn't be mulch, and that's, I mean, the ground would be sloped, so there would be concrete paving providing that ramp.
Additionally, the changes to the plans now would constitute an amendment. So all parties would have to be in agreement as well.
Okay, well, they're still working on their drainage. Okay, good. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
I want to put on the record again, just for our planner, we've spoken though. The density is necessary across the city, but we need to balance it with proper parking, green spaces, look at accessibility. And I know you've been doing all of that. And I just wanted to put it on the public record so everyone's aware of, the conversations we have amongst us as councillors in the area, what we hear from the public. So thank you for your diligence. And I know that we try to do the best we can within the parameters that we have in improving applications. But I think it's incumbent on, especially the developers, to do what the public wants. And even have consultations with the public if they're not hearing these things. Have a session where they get feedback. I think it's a good thing, and we're here to accommodate housing and for all people, right? And I just want to underscore that, Madam Chair. Okay, good. We're done with that. And I guess I'm going to move this application as presented. I want to thank the developer for being here. It's very important. And for their architect for presenting to the committee as well. It's a good project. It's going to bring much needed housing, Madam Chair, to the area. And you're looking to reside in projects like this. And then, as was stated earlier, they live there for a few years and move on and want to buy their own single family home. And again, staying in the area, we're seeing that trend. So I'd like to see more accessibility in the future. I noted that. But I think what we see before us has very good pedestrian connectivity in the site. They did incorporate a little bit of green space, and the materials and color palette the articulation. I appreciate the attention to detail there. So thank you.
Good. All those in favor?
Oh,
Aye. And that's carried unanimously. Do you want to keep going or do you want to
yes,
take
I
a
think we can keep going.
keep going?
Thank you. Your application's approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to plan approval 1145 Court Avenue.
1145 Court Avenue, yes. Okay, we heard from Mr. Sandu and Mr. Len. That was good. They were both with us today. Now, just to recap, or sorry, does our planner want to do a summary? Yeah.
The plan, this is for plan approval application for 4 stacked townhouse style residential buildings with a total of 90 units. The site is located on the north side of Port Avenue between DeGraw Street and Newmersey Lane in the Leela North neighborhood of the Old Kildonan Ward. Each of the proposed buildings are 35 feet in height, roughly 2.5 stories, and oriented along Port Avenue and the east and north edges of the site, enclosing the surface parking area. The building entrances would be located on the elevations facing Port Avenue for the buildings along Port, or towards the accessory parking area for the remaining 3 buildings. Each building has a covered porch with stairs and a pathway connecting to the future public sidewalk along Port Avenue, and each dwelling unit would have a porch or a balcony. The applicant is providing 135 outdoor parking spaces, including van accessible spaces, 14 visitor parking spaces, and 31 small car stalls. And there are 20 outdoor bicycle parking racks, spaces facilitated with racks. The accessible pedestrian connections and crossings have been provided throughout the site, and a gathering space has been provided at the rear of the site abutting a future park with barbecues, tables, seatings, and benches, as well as shade trees. The landscaping requirements look good. There's a variety of 8 different types of trees and 41 shrubs, 8 trees and 41 shrubs with 2 types of trees and 6 types of shrubs. And apart from that, no other comments unless you have questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair. We heard from Mr. Sandu and Mr. Lin. That was good. They were here with us today. Now, the intention is for me, I'd like to approve the 1145 application today and lay over, Mr. Clerk, the other application, yes, because we're waiting on 230. We're waiting on 160 DeGraves to come forward as well. And I know the applicant's looking for a special meeting, so we'll see if we can accommodate that.
Yes, to find a date, I would suggest that perhaps we take that offline, so we can
Yes.
consult with Councillor Edie as well.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the applicant's collaboration with the public service and with my office. Again, much needed housing in the area. And folks are attracted to this type of housing stock. And their other applications will be apartment complexes, 6 stories. So it's providing different options for the community, Madam Chair. So this is good. There is a park nearby, right adjacent to the parcels of land here, so that'll be very good for the people that move in. I'll look at one more thing here. Yeah, just looking at the drawings, Madam Chair. The scale of the development is good. It transitions from higher density near Court Avenue. And the single and 2 family homes are west of the site. So it's well laid out. I know there were some changes they had along the way. The first option isn't exactly what we see, but it's a process. You know, these things take time, so I want to congratulate them and look forward to working on the next steps. Okay. So again, Mr. Clerk, I'd like to approve the 1145 Port Avenue project as presented.
Okay. Sounds good. Excellent work. All those in favor? Aye. And that's carried unanimously. All right, moving on to plan approval 230 DeGrave Street.
Madam
This is the
Chair, I'd
one
like to lay
you're-
this over
It's over. Okay.
to the next meeting. Is that all that needs to be said? And if we have a special meeting, we'll bring it
Bring it
forward
back.
there.
Okay. All those in favor for layover of 230 DeGrave Street? Aye, and that's carried unanimously.
And now I'd like to take a recess.
Okay, you don't want to do the extension of time? This one's really quick.
No.
Okay, you want to wait until afterwards? Sure. Let's do a quick 5-minute break and we'll reconvene and start the public hearing
Thank you.
ASAP. Thank you.
Very much.
Good morning and welcome back to the Lord Selkirk West Kildonan Community Committee for May 26, 2025. We're going to start our public hearing with respect to this portion, and just going to quickly look at my notes here. Yes, we want to quickly acknowledge that we are meeting here on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional homelands of the Red River Métis that we all have the privilege of living on. In that, I want to also acknowledge our ancestral territory lands, and our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake Band number 40 in Treaty 3, together with our neighbors in Treaty 5, where our hydroelectricity comes from. I am Vivian Santos, the City Councilor for Point Douglas, will be your chairperson, together with my council colleague, Councillor Debbie Sharma from Old Kildonan. We also have members from the Public Service, Peter Prinsley, our Senior Committee Clerk, and Semi Jerez, a planner from the Planning Department, Planning, Property and Development Department. And I'm going to ask the clerk to read in some of the rules before we get going.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item 1 is a variance at North Point Boulevard, Lot 2, Plan 74428 under file DAV 145565 of 2025D. Please note, communications were received in support of this application that has been distributed to all members of the committee. So at this time, if it is the will of the committee, I can hand it over to the planner to give us an overview.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a variance application for a 284 unit residential development that requires parking reduction. The site is on the north side of North Point Boulevard between McPhillip Street and Lyra Gate in the West Kildonan industrial neighborhood or Aurora neighborhood of the Old Kildonan ward. This site, lots 2, 3, and 4 were part of a rezoning and subdivision application that were before this committee in February of last year. That would subdivide the overall site into 4 parcels, separating the existing commercial development, or it's in development, along McPhillip Street and creating 3 residential multifamily large lots. This is the first of those. And so in this first phase, 2 6-story buildings are proposed, joined by an amenity block with units above grade as well, for a total of 284 residential units. Final plans are forthcoming for plan approval to the LSWK Community Committee as well. The proposed buildings are 60 feet in height, and would buildings A and B on the west and east sides would each have 60 units, and the amenity block would provide another 24 units above the shared spaces. The zoning bylaw requires a parking ratio of 1.5 parking spaces per unit. The proposed development requires 426 parking spaces with that ratio, but the proposed plans include 376 spaces. That represents a 1.32 parking ratio. This includes 37 designated visitor spaces, 10 designated electric car parking stalls, and 3 car share stalls. Building A includes parking at ground level as well as below grade, and building B includes parking below grade. So a total of 230 of the stalls, 60% roughly, are indoors. And so there's also 70 bicycle stalls proposed, with 60 16 indoor spaces on racks and 54 indoor spaces in secure bike storage rooms in both buildings A and B. I'm going to forgo a lot of detail on the buildings themselves as the subject matter is about the parking reduction. So
We've got plan approval coming later.
that's correct, yeah. So the public service is supportive of the proposed reduction. The applicant and the owner have worked with Peg City Car Co-op to negotiate a memorandum of understanding. We're moving towards an agreement for the inclusion of 3 car share vehicles on the site. As mentioned, the proposed plans include 70 bicycle spaces, 54 of which are secure indoor spaces. And this development is separated by an internal road from a commercial development with a mix of uses, including a grocery store, a smaller grocery store. And it supports our complete communities policies. And so it's overall, we're satisfied with the car share offset of the parking reduction.
Any further questions, comments before we move on to delegations?
Just want to reiterate, Madam Chair, that this is a variance hearing.
Okay.
Plan approval will come at a later time.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, we'll move on.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, first up, we'll call the applicant, Mr. Brendan Salco from Landmark Planning and Design, to give us his presentation.
I just noticed that the clock's now 5 instead of 10. That's the recent change, so I'll keep my presentation
We want to hear
short.
from you, so
Yep.
give you
Thanks.
an extension.
We can give you extensions.
Okay. Let's see.
And that's a standing thing around here for me.
Yeah.
I just care about the projects.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Okay, my name is Brendan Salco. I'm a planner and partner at Landmark Planning and Design. And before we get started, I want to thank the administration, the clerks, the committee, of course, and those who are joining us for what we feel is a very exciting proposal and next phase for the Polaris Place community. So in terms of the applicant team, Whiteland Real Estate, they're a local Winnipeg developer. What they're looking to do today is to vary the minimum parking requirements in order to accommodate a multifamily residential development. As the planner noted, the rezoning and subdivision were approved February last year. Our firm, Landmark Planning and Design, we led the planning, engagement, and development approvals processes. And before we dive into it, just wanted to note that we're in full agreement with the recommendation in the Public Services Report. So just briefly, in terms of the parking reduction rationale, as was noted, we are looking to reduce the required number of parking stalls by approximately 12% for a ratio of 1.32 stalls per unit. The site is well suited for the requested parking variances for several reasons, including, as noted, we'll be providing 3 Peg City Car Co-op vehicles. And it should be noted that this is actually the first time that Peg City Car Co-op will be expanding kind of around their central core area. So they're very excited to be in Northwest Winnipeg. We're very excited to have them involved as kind of a trial to have cars further out than they normally would, which will be very exciting. There are also independent living features incorporated in one of the buildings in Building A, and those typically cater to residents whose level of car ownership is generally lower, not always, but often that's the case. This is a mixed-use community that has been master planned right since the very beginning, which integrates residential, commercial, and recreation, which allows folks to walk to the grocery store or to the dentist or many of those services that are developing in the commercial site directly to the west currently, and will be developing further on that site and to the south as well. So we see this as a very mixed-use community, as is the direction in the secondary plan. This aligns with both current and future transit improvements as well. It's great to see transit now over the last couple of years has been, extended to the Aurora neighborhood. And moving forward, McPhillips will be a frequent corridor as well, which will encourage that shift to alternate modes of transportation. There's a comprehensive network of walking paths and sidewalks which connect this site to the larger network, again, encouraging pedestrian-friendly streets and walkability. And then finally, the use of bikes and cycling will be an important component with secure bike parking in both buildings, as well as outdoor stalls, which connect to the larger AT network, which has been developing in the community and beyond. Won't spend too much time on the site itself. As was noted by Councillor Sharma, we will be coming back eventually for a plan approval where we'll deal with the details of those buildings. But again, this is at the northeast corner, of McPhillips and North Point Boulevard. And this is the first residential phase of the Polaris Place area. Suffice it to say that this proposal fits within the context of our Winnipeg and complete communities, as well as the Precinct F or North Point Village precinct plan. Just briefly, in terms of stakeholder engagement, we've met with residents over a period of several years. A lot of that was primarily regarding the parcels to the south, but generally we've been able to, I think, address many of the comments and the questions that residents raised, and we're happy to keep in touch with them as the phased approach develops in this neighborhood. And then just briefly, in terms of the site itself, so as was noted by the planner, 2 buildings, a westerly building and an easterly building, both 6 stories, as well as that amenities block that would connect the two. A lot of visitor parking. That's often something when we're talking about a parking variance. We want to ensure that we have enough visitor parking to ensure that we're mitigating potential impacts of spillover onto the adjacent streets. So there's plenty of visitor parking provided. Again, there are those indoor and outdoor bike racks. Plenty of surface and underground parking in both parkades, as well as those Peg City Car Co-op stalls. 2 in the southeast corner to be close to North Point Boulevard, to be accessible to the broader Aurora community, and then 1 in the northwest corner of the site, which will be more central to the commercial area, as well as the other multifamily.
Extension of time for 5 minutes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a few last slides. So in terms of connectivity, again, this is something very important when we're working on a master plan community, is not just active transportation connections to the bike paths and to those shared use pathways, but sidewalks as well, connecting all buildings, connecting those to the recreation spaces, as well as to all units and the parking areas as well. So very well connected, and this was done in collaboration with the landscape architect, as well as Stantec, who did the traffic and transportation study update for this application. Just briefly, again, we already had noted, but again, very important, we'll be coming back for plan approval to deal with those details of materials, seating areas, the pergolas, pedestrian pathways, lighting, landscaping, and other details. We're excited to come forward with that. Very nice design, which is currently being finalized by Ms. Texture Architecture Group. So we won't spend time on these now because we'll be back for the drawings. But again, just to provide at a high level, kind of a 3D aerial master plan context, just to again see how things fit together here and why we feel that this will be an excellent proposal with minor parking reduction. And then just lastly, in summary, we feel this is an excellent proposal for the neighborhood, this next phase of residential in Polaris Place. Again, it fits with those policies and objectives in all the city's planning documents, including the local area secondary plan. It addresses resident and stakeholder concerns and comments while mitigating potential impacts. It integrates well with the existing residential and commercial uses in the area. It extends the pedestrian network by connecting to surrounding developments and beyond. provides additional amenities for residents and for folks in the community. It'll alleviate housing demand in the area. Of course, this is one of the fastest growing areas in the city. We want to be able to provide different tenure types and different built forms from a housing perspective. And then finally, it's the result of several years of collaboration with the city administration, of course, and with the public service. And we're in full agreement with the recommendation in the planning report. So thank you very much. Really appreciate your consideration on this file, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the slideshow presentation. Thank you, Brendan. In terms of the work that you're going to be continuing to do, gearing up for the plan approval, shadow studies, you probably
That's
looked at that. Please make sure you thoroughly look at the shadow study, share the results with our planner.
Yeah, for sure.
You probably already have some preliminary conversations around that.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your note about pedestrian connectivity within that site. This is 4.1 acres, but there's 2 more parcels to come.
Exactly.
It's the largest multifamily development in Old Kildonan, I believe, to date.
Yep.
So it's very important that it's thoughtfully done. I like what I see so far for the design, and you'll be tweaking some things and working towards finalizing that. I see you have some green space there. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, there's been so much engagement done over the years, and it's just incorporating that feedback you've heard and what you also know from your own analysis of what residents are looking for.
Yep.
So you're spending a lot of time, of course, in their internal space, but we want them to enjoy the external green spaces as well.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a park nearby, as you know,
Yep.
and a new school being built,
Yeah, that's exciting.
and you've got the park green space here as well.
Yeah.
Good. In terms of the car share, wow, that's very exciting. Yeah, so you have a commitment, do you?
That's right. Yeah, it's a commitment for 3 vehicles. So Whiteland will be providing 3 stalls and 3 vehicles to Peg City Car Co-op. And yeah, like I mentioned, this will be their first kind of foray outside of the core areas in the downtown. And so they see it kind of as an opportunity just because of all the development that's taken place and because it'll be kind of a mixed use center here.
Excellent.
So we're really excited to see how that'll play out.
Thank you. We've heard about this application in the past in terms of just the scale and what we expect to see. So today it's about the variance, as you said, and you are in agreement with the public service report.
That's right. Yeah, 100%.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Yeah, just wanted to confirm for the car sharing, are those gonna be in either building A or building B?
So 2 of them will be at the very southeast corner of the site. So it'll be the surface parking area, basically closest to North Point Boulevard, just east of Building B. And then the other one will be in the surface parking area between buildings A and B, and it'll be on the northwest corner. And that'll be so that it's accessible to folks who are also using the commercial directly to the west.
And then for the electrical parking, I'm very interested in that topic.
That's right.
I think this is kind of one of the first that you're offering. That
Yeah.
I've seen in the northwest side of the city. Not necessarily, I guess, on location, but are they level 2 or level 1s?
Well, I'll have to double check that, but yeah, there will be a few outside and indoor as well. And I think the idea was that they'd be the faster charging.
The
So,
level 2.
yeah,
Said there'd be some indoors and outdoors?
yeah. I
Okay.
think in the parkade, those ones will be, they'll either be kind of roughed in so that they can be added, and then there's a certain percentage outside as well.
Our winters are really rough
Yeah,
for electrical vehicles. My family owns a Tesla and level 2 indoor, not fully like, what do you call that? Covered, like our garage still has some challenges.
okay, yeah.
And when we go to use the one at Polo Park, the Tesla, some of them are not even operational or
Oh.
working because they're frozen.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah.
just kind of being mindful of where you do locate them.
Yeah.
Indoor would be preferable because you'll get a better use.
Yeah,
of them. So, but that's great. Happy to hear that you're providing that option.
Good question. Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, that's all I have for the parking.
And just again, not about the parking variance, but just in terms of the whole site, the 3 parcels. You know, being very aware of how the first parcel performs in terms of for the community, connectivity, just the space, and then take it from there on the next parcels. I want to put that out there to you now and early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good point.
Okay, because often from the developer side, we always see changes. We're seeing a change today.
Yep.
So don't be afraid of making other changes for the betterment of the full development.
For sure.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing further at the moment.
you.
Delegations, moving on.
I have a number of people who registered in support, however, no one has joined the Zoom meeting and there's nobody in the gallery. So I'll just ask if there's anyone else who wishes to speak in support of this application, anyone in opposition or anyone for.
Okay, so we have questions of the administration.
Yes.
Okay, clearly.
Anything further to add, Simi?
No, do you have any questions about that?
No, the Peg City Co-op, have you viewed the memorandum of understanding?
I did.
Do you have a copy of that?
Yes, I do.
And that is very exciting because we've wanted them to come here for a while into the suburbs, and this would be their first opportunity to do so, where they think they can provide the coverage that's needed. I think an education piece goes around Peg City Co-op as well for the ethnic community. So that would be important for Peg City to reach out and make sure folks are aware of how the system operates. Maybe it's foreign to them. That's foreign to me. I think I should get in one of those cars.
Have a membership, I can take you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything you'd like to add? And plan approval, that'll come later, shadow studies, pedestrian connectivity, green space, all of those items will be flagged and looked at.
That's correct.
Yes. Okay,
And the location of the car share stalls will also be included in final plans.
excellent. Yeah, there's 3 stalls that need to be given, and we don't know if they're outdoor or indoor at this point.
They would likely be outdoors so that they're available for community members to access.
Yes,
There's a budding multifamily developments that could benefit from this as
yes,
well.
that's a good point. And it's more visual, of course, and accessibility of the use of it. Excellent. Okay, nothing more, Madam Chair?
Nothing more. Okay, that's great. Great. Do we want to bring the applicant back for rebuttal? You can come back and rebuttal if you want to add anything more. Just no new comments. No, you're good? Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. We will move into motions, Counselor.
Yes, I'll move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. That's carried.
That the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's carried.
That in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan. It does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway. And it is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property. And it is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated.
Okay, all those in favor? Or do you want to give your supporting reasons now? Yeah, you give your supporting reasons now and then we'll move it. Yeah.
These parcels of land, Madam Chair, is very exciting. It's a huge development. There's 3 parcels. We're going to see many high-rise apartment blocks here. So we're doing our share of filling that gap in the housing market. So this, I'm really excited about Peg City Co-op. We've been asking them to look at when they can have capacity to come into the suburbs. So this would be the first project in the Old Kildonan ward. I want to thank Brendan Zellico and the developer for championing that conversation with Peg City. We certainly have had it with them in the past as well. And so collectively, I think they're willing to now, you know, it's aligned for them to be able to have the capacity to come here and do that. So 3 cars, 3 dedicated stalls, that's very good. And I'm excited about marketing it to the nearby community as well, as our planner indicated. I think it'll be something that we should be and hopefully is embraced by the surrounding community as well as folks that live in this development. So I'm willing to go with this minor parking variance. I'm super excited to look at the full plan approval package when it's ready. What we've seen so far coming out in terms of design work and the layout, there's attachments here to the docket, I think is thoughtful design. And it's well laid out, many conversations with the public service, I know with yourself, Simi, Public Works Department, et cetera. So, and I want to see that continue, thoughtful design, both internally and external to the building. Because that's what, this is a major corridor, McPhillip Street. And this project is going to be seen by those that travel along the corridor. And for those living here, we want to provide a space that they're proud of and that they're comfortable in. So those are my supporting reasons. I congratulate Mr. Salico today. He's been very good on this file for a number of years now. And the developer Whiteland as well, which again, thoughtful design that's very intentional. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, no, I don't have much to add, but always really, really thrilled to see commercial mixed use properties like this where they're offering, amenities and businesses really close by in walking distance. I think that's a new way of seeing how communities can grow. I'm also a big proponent of no parking minimums or requirements at all, and really challenging developers to come up with, different ways and modes of transportation. And we're seeing that right here. So congratulations in getting Peg City Co-op here. And just very supportive of the project, and congratulations to the developer, the applicant, and Councillor Sharma on a great project in the northwest side of the city. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye, and that's carried unanimously.
Thank you. Next section, Madam Chair, I'll move that the recommendations of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and the variance be approved.
All those in favor? Aye.
I'll move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor? Aye, and that's carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that all persons registered will receive notice, and appeal mechanisms are in place and will be communicated in real time.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming.
Okay, moving on. Okay, so that closes the hearing part. We're going to move back to our reports. We just have one report to deal with: extension of time, subdivision rezoning, 1361, 1377, 1379, 1385, 1399, and 1425 McPhillip Street. I believe we have Angie Savage online.
We do.
Okay. I'll just wait till she comes online. I don't see you. Hi, Angie, how are you?
Good morning. How are you, counselors?
Good.
Apologies that I can't be there in person today. I have a few hats and some conflicts, so I'm glad I was able to jump in right on time. So this is a subdivision and rezoning application that's located at the Northgate Shopping Center site, and it was approved by council on February 23rd of 2023 to establish lots that will be rezoned to an RMFL district, which will allow for the construction of a mixed-use multifamily dwelling site while maintaining the shopping center's commercial uses. The related bylaw 42 of 23 hasn't come into force and effect yet by registration, and the applicant McGowan Russell Group has requested a second extension of time to allow for the completion of the zoning agreement and the servicing agreements, along with registration of the plan at the Land Titles Office. They are actively engaging with our legal services and with our department on completing those items. So the public service supports the extension of the coming into force provisions to extend to May 30th of 2026.
Thank you, Angie. I have no issue. I see the report and I appreciate your summary as well. Thank you.
Okay, Angie, I don't have any questions.
Madam Chair, I'll move the recommendation as presented by the public service, extension of time.
Sounds good. All those in favor? Aye. And that's carried. All right, seeing no other business, no new business. All right, adjournment.
Move adjournment.
So moved, Madam Chair, or Speaker. I don't know. So
I am always Madam Speaker. Thank you.
you're welcome. 11:23.
Cheers.